I've gotten the pleasure or privilege to get to know everyone. So I hope that during today's event, we can get some time to connect. My name is Jose Alvillar. My pronouns are he and his, and I'm an organizer with Unidos Minnesota. And I'm here today to support this amazing work by some amazing folks around the Excel IRP. And I can talk a little bit about what it is. But before I jump into that, I would like to quickly and briefly do a land acknowledgement. First and foremost, honoring the folks within these lands, which are the Dakota people, our indigenous communities, but also honoring Turtle Island and the folks who have resided here, who are Nicantlaka folks. That's a term in Nahuatl, which is my indigenous language, that means people of these lands. So, extending beyond borders, since, unfortunately there are some right now. So just wanted to acknowledge our folks and acknowledge our land and ask for permission and thank our ancestors and our future generations for the work that they've done and will be doing to protect these lands. So yeah, I also want to, I guess, quickly honor and thank everyone that's here today. I don't know if we have enough time to do like intros, but if you have time and capacity, you could put your name, pronoun, and what brought you here today in the chat. That would be amazing. Maybe a good way to kind of connect with each other and get to know a little bit more about us. So yeah, if you could do that, well, I will quickly explain a little bit about the Excel IRP and then pass it to Kyle and Christel. So essentially, the Excel IRP or the Integrated Resource Plan is Excel's 15-year long-term energy plan that outlines how they will provide ratepayers with safe, reliable, and affordable electricity. But if we're listening to that correctly, what this means is that for the next 15 years, this plan will ultimately determine not just how our communities will receive their energy, but also who will receive that, as well as what the effects will be for our land and our people's health based on how the energy is produced. Uh, but of course, this means that there's a lot of issues with that and a lot of things that can impact our communities in so many ways. But I think the beauty of this is that grounding our work around what is possible and not just what is at stake is why we are here today, because we still have that opportunity to intervene and demand Excel to do better for all our communities. But I would digress into that. I'll let that piece for Kyle and Christelle to talk a little bit more about the importance of the Excel IRP. So yeah.
Well, you know what? I do think we have time to just go around and do some quick introductions. And thank you for that beautiful intro, Jose. And of course, please feel free to jump in anytime with something we may be missing or are not touching on. I mean, feel free to go ahead and put it in the chat too, because it's nice to document it there. But, let's just do name, pronouns, what brought us here today, and then I'll start and then I'll pick the next person and we'll just kind of continue like that. So my name is Kyle Samajima, she, her, hers. I live in the Northrop neighborhood of Minneapolis. I'm the executive director of Minneapolis Climate Action. Sorry, it's been a long day. And we are a nonprofit focused on climate organizing in the city of Minneapolis with a lens of equity and environmental justice. And what brought me here today is the deep desire to make these, first of all, to do systems change, systems paradigm shifts, and also to really bring and shine light on the systems and the kind of complicated energy systems that we have that shouldn't be, and that, and to kind of push past some of the barriers that we have to understanding our energy system and to really make it just and equitable. So that's what brought me here today. And I will go to, let's see, Christelle, are you ready yet? Are you all set up with your computer and in your office?
I am set up. I'm still on my phone. I was gonna join by computer, so there's gonna be a lot of shaking around. Sorry. So yes, hi, my name is Christelle Porter, and I'm the executive director of MN Renewable Now. And the reason why I'm in this circle is because I same thing. I've always been very passionate about where we get our power from, where we get our energy from. It's something that we all depend on. I mean, we're all on these electronic devices right now. And we got to charge them. We want lights to turn on when we come into our rooms, and we want comfort, and we need to, it's becoming even more so a need now than this pandemic that we're in, and having to do everything from home, and the amount of energy that we use, we really need to start thinking about how it affects our environment and how it impacts our climate, and we need to start sourcing our energy from renewable sources. So it's always been something I've been passionate about. MM Renewable Now focuses on engaging folks in especially the North Minneapolis community about renewable energy, how to be a part of the movement, how to access it, and it's something that's not really available as an education opportunity in my community. So that's why I do it. And yeah, I'd like to pass it on to, I'll say, Lee.
Yes, my name is Lee. I'm in South Minneapolis, specifically the Sandish neighborhood. I can go by he, him pronouns, and I work with the organization called Community Power, where one of the first lines of projects that it did, as I alluded to in the chat, was organizing a series of community education events on the energy utility system in order to close that gap between that what Jose had mentioned to this inspiring vision of what is possible, and the sort of but I don't know enough about the system to know what to say or do, and I want to know how to best organize such events in the future, and I do have at least one planned, but I wanted to say that there is no core curriculum in high schools that I'm aware of that teaches about energy utility economics, even though the electric grid is the biggest machine on the continent, or any college class that exposes some of the absurdities because of this old story that of just let the experts be in charge, and don't mess up the system. Well, we see where that got us, and so power to you who are taking leadership. And I will pass to hi Rebecca. Yeah.
Are we, sorry I'm late. Are we doing just names and neighborhoods? I'm Rebecca.
What inspired you to?
Oh, okay. Okay.
To show.
Sure. My name's Rebecca Kramer. I live in South Minneapolis in the Longfellow neighborhood. And I was inspired because I got an email from Lee Samuelson, and I usually try to do everything that Lee tells me to do. So I'm here tonight to learn. I've been part of climate justice organizations, MN350, MNIPL, other organizations for a long time. And I'm really happy to meet some new folks tonight. Thank you. And so who has Kyle spoken? Kylie?
Thank you.
I have.
How about Patty? Has Patty spoken?
No, I haven't. I can go. Thanks, Rebecca. Good to see you. It's been a while. My name is Patty O'Keefe. I use she, her pronouns. I organize around clean energy and climate justice issues at the Sierra Club. And I'm here because I feel like right now and for a very, very long time. The decisions about our energy system and how we relate to land and the environment, those decisions have been driven by the powerful, corporations and also politicians who aren't accountable to people most impacted by those decisions. And so I think that there has to be that power dynamic has to be flipped on its head. And I think a lot more people are waking up to that fact, and really excited just about like all of the momentum building for environmental and climate justice and racial justice. So yeah, that's why I'm here tonight, and I'll pass it to, let's see, is it Zainab?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Zainab. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm an intern for MCA. I'm also in Minneapolis right now. I'm an undergraduate student, and I'm just here to listen in on the conversation and learn. So that's what I'm here for. Daniela, if you want to go next.
Hi, I'm Daniela. I am with Minneapolis Climate Action Board, and I am very excited about being part of such a community that focuses on raising awareness on environmental issues and social issues, racial issues, all the inequities that people face. And specifically, I am very interested in just learning how to understand our energy system so we can, to bring back power to the people, kind of, or that's exactly what it is. And I just am interested I'm very passionate about it. And yeah, I'm here to learn and spread the word and hopefully impact other communities, cities and states and the country and the world, just by the work that we're doing. Thank you.
And pick who will go next, Daniela.
Sorry about that. Mary, you can go.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Grunman. I go by her, she. I am joining because I'm pretty passionate for our communities, for equality, for inclusion, and also for the environment. I was inspired to join tonight from Autumn Sign. And so I'm happy she let me know about the event. Unfortunately, I have another conflict. I'm going to have to drop at 7, but I believe it sounds like you guys have another one occurring on Monday. So I will join for that for the majority of that one. So I have to drop pretty soon, but just wanted to pop in for tonight. Thanks. So let's have Autumn go next.
Hi, I'm Autumn. I go by she, her. I live in the Kingsfield neighborhood, and I just started interning with Minneapolis Climate Action last week when the semester started. I'm a student at the U of M. I'm involved in this work because I'm really interested in the overlap between kind of what we bundle in as sustainability and sustainable systems and equitable development. And I think that implementing renewable energy provides a lot of the opportunity for that intersection. And yeah, I have a couple family members joining us tonight because that side of my family is also really interested in this kind of work. So that's cool to see you guys. Hi. And then Tom and Carolyn, do you want to go?
Sure, I'm Tom, and I'm a bit of an outsider because I live up in Duluth. And I have worked in the electrical trades for a good part of my adult life. I work for a company that installs electrical components for everything that you see around you, from residential to large corporations. We've done some large solar farms, very large solar farms throughout the Midwest, in the Twin Cities and in Duluth. And I'm actually here as an observer. There's not a whole lot I can really offer, other than I'm really happy to see that you guys are getting together. We are a little bit active with Fresh Energy out of the Twin Cities. We've done some work with the Sierra Club, a lot of environmental organizations actually throughout the country. So this is something that is of interest to me, and the only thing I can really offer is that the younger generation, so I see a lot of younger faces here. You guys are the ones that are going to drive the future of our electrical needs, because the older people that have been in the career for a long time, like myself, we pretty much, and I'm speaking generally, we're set in our ways. We've already gone through 20 and 30 years of a career, and it's how we do things. And we're not going to change the way we do things unless other people that are coming into the industry start driving policy. And that's really what's going to change things, is changing policy, because that's what shapes how electrical generation is delivered to people. So anyway, I'm really proud of all you guys, and I hope you can make some good strides towards improving what we have. And I'm going to drop my video, but we're going to stick around and listen for a while. So thanks, everybody.
Hey, I'm going to go next because he didn't designate. I'm Dawn, but my handle there is Zena D. It's a nickname, actually. And I also, like Tom, I live in a rural area. I live about an hour north of the cities. And I'm really happy to see so many young faces and all the calls to equity and distribution of power, in this case, electrical power, but other powers as well. And also for that nice introduction. And I'm here to find out what Xcel is up to. When I moved up here from the cities about 20 years ago, they were wanting to run a big power line through here, and the community was very much against it. And we were able to fight it, only for them to use another route. But I think we need to look at more decentralized power options for like neighborhoods and regional areas. And I live in Chisago County, which is just unbelievably inundated with solar farms recently in the last 5 to 10 years. And I want to put in solar for my house, and they are holding up my project because they're saying they need more load on the lines. They can't, and I am a one-person energy efficient house, so I'm not sure why they need all my power, which isn't very much, but I want to know what they're up to. And so I'm mostly here to learn and listen about their plan, and so I can provide some educated input and comments on their 15-year plan. So thanks for having me and for doing this. And oh, who to pass it to? Whoever hasn't spoken yet, sorry.
Has Therese gone?
I don't think so.
We can't hear you.
Therese, do you want to introduce yourself? I'm not sure.
You're probably muted. I don't know.
Yeah. If there's a problem with your sound, you could put it in the chat. And sometimes if there's a problem with the sound, you can leave the meeting and come back in. And then, let's see, did Mary go? And sorry if I...
Yes, this is Mary. I did introduce myself, and I apologize. I'm going to have to leave now, but I'll be back on Monday.
Okay, great.
It looks like Jim Meyer just came on.
So Jim, we know you just popped on, but we're just doing some quick introductions of our name, where we're from, and what brought us here.
I'm sorry, I'm just stopping in for a minute. I'm gonna be going on in a few more minutes, and I just saw it in my events. I thought it had already started a little while ago, actually. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We did start, but we've just been doing introductions and, you know,
Okay.
no problem. You can just introduce yourself and we'll, you know.
Oh, I just live in South Minneapolis and saw the interesting topic and wanted to see a few minutes of who showed and then, but have to be moving on again. Thank you.
You are welcome. All right, so this is definitely a coalition of organizations and voices that came together tonight. And Christelle Porter from MN Renewable Now and I, you know, kind of put ourselves on as you know, the hosts, and that's, you know, pretty, you know, we're really focused on everyone that is here, is what I'm trying to say. But Christelle and I will briefly say kind of why we decided to do this. And as someone who is the director of a nonprofit focused on climate action through a lens of equity and environmental justice, I really see the need for changing the story of energy and changing the story of how we relate to energy. And to change the story, I think we have to understand the story. And right now, while yes, I'm sitting here, you know, with electricity and I'm getting it and it's reliable in the United States, which I think we take for granted, there are problems with it and there are equity problems with it. And I truly believe that we have, as we go through this renewable energy transition, that we can truly democratize our energy system and connect people to it and make them feel ownership over it. And I think it was, I think it was one of Autumn's relatives, you know, just talking about how the energy system feels disconnected. And I just truly feel like we can create a whole different way to relate to it. And so I look forward to hearing about the whole IRP presentation and other people's questions and their voices, and really shaking up the energy story that we all think is true and really looking at ways that it can change. And the only way it can change is by understanding how it is now and what we can do to change it. And I know that as Patty goes through her presentation, I know questions will come up, but our goal is to make this information accessible and what you can do about it accessible. If that isn't the case, please let us know. So please put questions in the chat that you may have, any other actions around this that you may have. And we will be sharing some other events about the IRP coming up. I know UNIDOS, Jose's organization, is doing another event. Christelle and I are hosting another one. Lee has an event coming up. And we'll be posting about some of those things in the chat, so keep an eye on it. And again, I just truly believe this is a place where we can democratize energy and truly create community benefit. And right now that's not happening with the integrated resource plan. And our goal is to make sure you know what's right with it, because there are a few things right with it, what's wrong with it, and what we can do. So, Christelle, on to you.
Hey, back to me. So yeah, again, I'm Christelle Porter and with MN Renewable Now. And definitely we wanted to host this because we feel like, you know, even though we are, you know, in the know of what's happening, we want to make sure that we provide enough opportunity for people to listen in on what is happening with the IRP, how they can have their voices be heard. One of my big concerns is, of course, my community. I live in North Minneapolis. We are the most densely African-American populated neighborhood in the entire state of Minnesota. And also a neighborhood that has been a victim of systemic environmental racism going back for as long as we can remember. We're currently situated in the center of the HERC, where all of the trash from the entire county of Hennepin gets burned, where we get to inhale all the lovely fumes from the GAF plant, which is very toxic. We are situated next to metals recycling facilities where we have little fragments of metals in the air that we get to breathe in on a daily basis. My children were actually victims of breathing issues, and there was a time where my kids and all of their friends, they all had nebulizers. It's so common that we just, it was unheard of if there was kids in the school that didn't have a nebulizer in their first 5 to 6 years of life. And we had to definitely neb them like 2 to 3 times a day. And so the things that I see that are issues in the IRP plan is, they point to, allocating $56 million for BIPOC communities, which is only 1% of the $2.95 billion that they're planning on allocating for this plan. And, I don't feel that's good enough. This is the largest growing market, renewable energy, right now as we speak. And if you're not being intentional about making sure that you're providing training opportunities and opportunities for community ownership around renewable energy, you're leaving out people that have always been left out. And what it's going to do is it's going to further widen that gap when it comes to accessibility, and when it comes to in having clean air and fresh air and being able to build wealth. So I just want to make sure that people are able to listen to this presentation and are able to understand what it really is, and be able to be directed to a place where they can put in their opinion and have their voice heard, and share it with as many people as you can. We all have access to social media. If you do share, what you got out of this presentation, and share the link so that people can put in their comments on what they would like to see Excel do with this over $2 billion, almost $3 billion investment into the community. So if you guys have any questions throughout the presentation, please put it in the chat. We will be making sure that we pull that out and set it aside, and at the end we will ask those questions. If you are joining us by phone and you are unable to chat, we will open that up after we read through the questions in the chat, so that we'll open it up so you guys can just ask for yourself. So I will pass this on to Patty. Patty is going to be doing the presentation, and I'm really excited because Patty is awesome and she is so knowledgeable about all this, and she's been at the forefront of this work for a very long, since its inception. So take it away, Patty.
Thanks, Christelle. Yeah, it feels like a really long time that I've been working on this, because this IRP stuff has been going on for years, because it has been delayed time and time again by Excel. They keep saying, oh, we need more time to like put our plan together. So it's actually been, I think, a full two and a half years that I've been working on this stuff. And so anyways, yeah, I have accumulated some knowledge, and I'm excited to share it with you tonight, and to start a discussion about it. And what Kyle said earlier is totally right on, that we are trying to make this information like really, really accessible, so that you don't need to know anything about like energy, really. You don't have to know any of the technical information in order to understand like what this is about. And so would really like, please ask any question that you have, and if you can, give us some feedback to let us know how the presentation is, because we want to keep improving it as we go. So I am going to share my screen. Also, when I'm sharing my screen, I can't see the chat. So if there is a question, could somebody, Kyle, could you let me know if somebody has a question?
Absolutely.
Interrupt me? Okay, that would be great. Cool. All right. Okay. All right. So, can folks see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Great. So, this is titled Electric Justice. Excel Energy is enacting environmental racism, and here is what we can do about it using the integrated resource planning process as a vehicle for advancing environmental justice. So I'm going to start with just doing a little bit of like an energy 101 and talking about what energy we have, where Excel gets its energy from, what sources. And then we'll go into talking about what's in the actual plan and what some of the biggest issues are in it. And then we'll talk about kind of where this decision lies, who's going to be making the decision, and how we can have an impact. So let's see, just to quick go over just a little bit about how the energy system works. There we go. This is a graphic that I think does like a decent job of showing it. So when we turn on a light or plug in a phone charger, the energy that powers it is being delivered through a large system called the electricity grid. So since the Industrial Revolution, like 250 years ago, the way that we have gotten our energy has looked a lot like this image. So energy like coal or gas is extracted from underground. And if you're looking at this image, this isn't actually like the full picture. The full picture is if you would add something before this plant, and that's like the actual extracting of like the stuff and like digging it up and then sending it to the plant. So extracting the energy from underground, when that happens, it is often polluting the communities that it is, or always polluting the communities that it's close to, which are and have been disproportionately communities of color and poor communities. The fuel is then transported to a big power plant, which is the brown plant on there, where it is turned into energy. With coal, that's the point where it's burned and where you see a bunch of smoke coming out from the smokestacks, which is really contributing to climate change. And then that energy gets sent on power lines, first the really big ones called transmission lines, and then eventually to the smaller ones in cities and towns that are connected to our homes and businesses. So this system is starting to change as we transition to a clean energy system. Instead of digging up coal and gas from underground, our energy now will be coming from the sun and the wind. Instead of having a big power plant produce a ton of energy in one place, we are moving towards a more decentralized system that I think Don mentioned, where we have more solar and wind farms kind of dispersed, more dispersed, because so we can take advantage of the sun and wind being in a lot of different places at a lot of different times. So anyways, we are starting to kind of taking our first steps and moving away from this more kind of centralized and polluting model to the future energy of our energy system, which will be cleaner, which will be more decentralized, and localized energy.
Hey, Patty, I just want to, sorry to interrupt for a quick sec.
That's okay.
There's some interference on your sound. I don't know if you have headphones on, or maybe you need to move a little closer. I don't know if you have a fan on or something. I don't know. There's just a little bit of interference. So
I'm so sorry. I could try moving over to my other computer.
There might be a setting for optimizing your sound too, down in the bottom, I think left corner.
I'm not sure. I'm going to just really quick jump on to my other computer, because I think it might be this computer. It's it's a work computer, and I think I got it this week, and I think it has some issues with the sound. I'm so sorry.
And sorry to disrupt your flow, your
No.
energy, Patty, but
No, thank you.
Just for your reference, Patty, I noticed the exact same sound last night in our meeting.
Oh
That
my
if
gosh.
that's helpful.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
much better.
Okay. Great. I'm glad that worked, and I need to figure out my sound. Should I go back and say what I said again, or did folks get the gist? I'm happy to.
It wasn't, it was scruffy, but we could hear you clearly. It just was kind of like distracting, that's all. So I shouldn't speak for everybody, but I could hear you clearly. It just was, yeah.
I think you can keep going.
Okay, cool. Just gonna pull it up. All right. Okay, so moving on. So where do we get most of our energy from? If folks want to write in the chat, what sources do you think we get most of our energy from? And this is from Xcel Energy. All right, we got hydraulic, coal, natural gas, solar, wind, nuclear and wind with percentages, very specific, coal. All right. Nuclear and coal, gas. Yep. So all of these are right. Burning trash. That is true also. So this is a breakdown of where Xcel gets their energy from currently. So you can see that it's just about a quarter, under a quarter is from coal, about over a quarter is from nuclear, right around a quarter is from gas, and then it's about 20% from wind, or maybe a little less than that. And then the rest is made up by a fairly small sliver of solar, and then other renewables. And I put renewables in quotes because as Christelle mentioned, burning trash is something that Xcel does, and they have under their definition of renewable. Also, so is I think they also include in their hydro electric hydroelectric, so harnessing energy from like dams. Right. So why is energy a justice issue? We are starting to talk a lot about this, and over the last few years we have, and people, I think, are starting to make this connection more now, that energy has a really big impact on people. It isn't something just like distant that you never see or never affects anyone. It definitely does. So with pollution, chemicals are emitted during the extraction, transportation, processing, and then the eventual use of fossil fuels in the home for like heating and cooking, and that disproportionately harms people of color and low-income communities. Also, energy burden. People of color and low-income communities pay a larger percent of their income on energy than white people and higher income folks. These communities are also more likely to live in older houses and apartments that are less efficient, which costs more money. And then climate change is also a piece of it. The impacts of climate change, like natural disasters, people being displaced from their homes or having to move, people experiencing food and water shortages, and any like political instability or civil unrest that's resulting from those things disproportionately affects communities of color and low-income communities. So how we get energy from, it's definitely a political and social and environmental justice issue, and needs to be addressed. So what is Xcel Energy's role in all of this? I broke it down as simply as I could, and essentially Xcel and other big utilities like Xcel are the ones that they build and maintain all the stuff, right? All the infrastructure, the coal plants, the gas plants, the wind farms, the solar, et cetera. And we pay for it on our energy bills. So the way that big utilities, big corporate utilities like Xcel have made billions of dollars and all the money that they make doing this is by building this infrastructure, like building these big plants, and then getting the money back for paying for building those plants from us, the customers. And then they also get a big return on investment. So whenever they build like a big plant, they're allowed to make a certain percentage of that money as an add-on to what the plant costs. So essentially, we are paying them back for the things that they build and paying them back with interest. And that money that we are paying them is going straight to Xcel shareholders. I think in 2019, Xcel had record profits and made $2 billion.
Patty, can I just jump in? And I had a city official say to me recently that Xcel shareholders are guaranteed a 10% return on investment on every asset that Xcel owns. That's rare. I mean, who's guaranteed a 10% return on investment? But Xcel shareholders are.
Yeah, they're guaranteed a high rate of return. And so that's why we need to be having this conversation, because utilities are kind of they're kind of purported to be these institutions that are providing a public service, because they are providing a public service and to be doing something that's in the public interest. But they are very, very much so invested in their private interest and the profit that they are making. And they want to make as much money as possible because they're a corporation. They are also fiduciarily, they are legally responsible to making their investors and their shareholders as much money as possible. So they have a vested interest in making as much money as they can. And that has resulted in utilities being much more loyal to whatever makes them the most money versus whatever is the best option in terms of their customers when it comes to cost and when it comes to health and environmental health. So Excel's integrated resource plan, what is it and how does it factor in here? So we have been starting to call the integrated resource plan Excel's 15-year climate and energy plan, because that's what it is, and it sounds way less complicated than integrated resource plan. And simply put, it is their 15-year forecast for where they are going to be getting their energy from, what sources, from coal or gas or nuclear, wind, solar, hydro, garbage burning, etc. And the kind of estimations for how much it is going to cost their customers over time. So this is this plan is being referred to as the Super Bowl of integrated resource plans, because in the next 15 years, the next 15 years are a critical time. They're critical because we need to be drastically cutting our carbon across all sectors in the next 15 years. Like that's the window that we really have to like make big changes in cutting carbon. It's also by 2035, about 70% of our plant infrastructure in the state of Minnesota is going to be getting really old and up for retirement, like not able to be used anymore. So that's like the coal plants and the nuclear plants and the gas plants. And so we are going to have this big decision about when all of that stuff gets old and we stop using all that stuff, what are we going to replace it with? Is it going to be more fossil fuels? Is it going to be more stuff that just makes things even worse? Or are we going to be going in a new direction with investing more in a distributed and renewable and clean system? So, okay, I actually didn't finish this slide. I'm sorry, but I think that it's actually kind of perfect because there's not that much that's good about this plan. So the good thing is that Excel has made a commitment to 100% carbon-free energy by 2050. They made that announcement last year. The bad thing is that they are planning to build a big gas plant that would prevent them from reaching that goal. So it's essentially, they're putting out a promise that they can't keep. Other good things, some other good things in the plan are that they are committing to build out a lot more wind and solar, and committing to do a lot more energy efficiency. But I'm going to go into a little bit about why that is not enough, and not especially not enough in terms of equity and environmental justice. So here are some of the big issues with the plan. They are planning to build a massive $1 billion gas plant and gas pipeline in central Minnesota that would emit over 3 million metric tons of carbon per year, which is, I think, about the same as all of the existing gas plants in Minnesota emit combined. So it's a lot. And the Sierra Club has done some research that and modeling that has shown that if we built clean energy instead, it would save customers between $200 and $300 million. And then, like I said on the slide, the other slide, we are the ones who pay for this plant. and we're paying for it with interest. So that's like when we get our energy bills, like our energy bills are going towards paying for this plant, and they are going towards lining the pockets of Xcel shareholders instead of investing in clean energy and just transition. So, I mean, the bottom line is that we are in a climate crisis, and we absolutely cannot be building any more fossil fuels in a climate crisis. It's just we cannot be doing that. Gas plants can operate for between 20 to 40 years. If we're still burning gas in 20 to 40 years, we're going to be in really, really big trouble. And the thing is, we're not going to do that. We're not going to be able to do that because of climate change, and because the projections for gas, the price of gas, are that it's going to end up being a lot more expensive than renewables. That's why renewables would save us a bunch of money. And if the plant becomes uneconomical or gets shut down early because of climate change, we are the ones that have to pay that off, not the shareholders who made the bad investment, not Xcel, the company. We are the ones that have to continue to pay off that bad investment on our energy bills, and that is just not fair. So that's the gas plant. They also have barely any community and rooftop solar planned for the next 15 years. So Xcel wants to build about 300 megawatts of community and rooftop solar by 2030, which may sound like a lot, but in 2018 alone, we built 250 megawatts. The reason why Xcel is proposing to build so little community and rooftop solar is because they want to build really big utility scale solar and wind farms, and they want to be able to do that and crowd out the competition so they can own and profit from as much of the clean energy as possible. When you have community solar and rooftop solar, a lot of times there are third-party companies. It's not Xcel maybe that's building the solar. They're not the solar developer. There are other businesses and other entities that are part of the equation. And that means that Xcel makes less money doing that. So they don't want to be doing that. They have been at the legislature lobbying to kill their community solar program or to drastically reduce it ever since the community solar program was mandated by the legislature. They don't want it. They're getting a lot of flack for being really slow at connecting their community solar garden projects to the grid, as Don, you mentioned. And so we really want to push back on that and say that, no, you need to allow for a lot more community and rooftop solar. We need to do as much solar as possible. So you can't just count this out, especially because community solar offers way more benefits and access for renters, for low income communities, and people that can't afford to put solar panels on their own roofs or don't have the roofs that are, right for that. Okay, and then they also are just perpetuating environmental racism in a lot of ways. They're doing it by doubling down on pollution, by proposing to build this gas plant. They also are invested in a bunch of garbage burning, including the HERC, which is not a form of renewable energy and is, in the HERC's case, has been plaguing the North Minneapolis community for decades.
Tell me quickly what HERC is, in case people.
Oh, sorry. It is the Hennepin is it Hennepin County Energy
Energy Recovery Center.
Okay. It's basically this big facility where a bunch of trash that doesn't go to landfills is brought and it is burned. And that pollution goes directly into North and Northeast Minneapolis.
It's 1,000 tons a day.
And it's actually situated right by one of our largest homeless shelters.
Yeah.
And they do not burn during baseball games. They only burn before and after baseball games when people that do not live in the community are in that area.
Yeah.
It's right next to the Twin Stadium.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they're doing that. Their workforce is 93% white, and they have no hard commitments for how they are going to diversify their workforce in the plan. Their energy efficiency and clean energy programs that they have that save people money disproportionately serve their white customers. One of the reasons being is that they have invested almost nothing into community outreach and into culturally competent community outreach to make sure that all of their customers know about these programs and have access to them and know how to sign up. And then the decision about the Prairie Island nuclear plant isn't happening in this plan, but the Excel's Prairie Island nuclear plant is located right next to the Prairie Island Indian community. And its proximity to that community has been one cause for the tribe looking to acquire new lands because they are concerned about the nuclear waste and production right next to their lands. So I think people, and sometimes I even forget this because like Excel has this huge PR arm and do a really good job of making themselves seem like they are this amazing clean energy utility, but they are the biggest polluter in our state. Like when it comes to climate change, like when it comes to like the environmental injustice that they are doing, they are one of the top polluters, if not, I think they are the top polluter in our state. And what is included in their plan simply just is absolutely insufficient in terms of addressing environmental racism, reparating for the harm that they have already been causing communities, and coming up with a plan to ensure that their investments and their clean energy going forward is going to improve the lives of the people that have been most burdened by the current energy system. So I realized that I was like saying all this, like, this is what they shouldn't do, but wanted to include something about a vision. And this graphic is from the Climate Justice Alliance. It's like, okay, well, if we're not doing all this stuff, all this bad stuff, what should we do? What should we be working towards? And I wish this was like a pretty like kind of picture, but it's more of just like a different visual. But it's essentially saying that we need to move from this extractive economy that is based in exploitation and extracting resources from communities enforced by, you know, militarism and rooted in consumerism and colonialism. And we need to move to a local, living, regenerative economy that's based in cooperation and regenerative resources like renewables, and where people have control over their energy and what decisions are made around energy. Because right now, the Xcel Energy and a massive corporation and the Public Utilities Commission are and I'm going to say a little bit about them in a sec, are who have the decision about what energy we have in Minnesota. And that's messed up. Like they should, like these, like this small group of privileged people should not have a say over where our energy comes from and what that looks like. We, the people, should have that say. So I'm going to say a bit about who decides, and then I'm almost done. So who decides? The Public Utilities Commission is who decides. So that is the Public Utilities Commission is a state level body. It's kind of like a state agency. Oops. That regulates big investor owned utilities like Excel. So because Excel is a monopoly, and like if you live in Excel's service territory, like you can't choose whether to get your energy from a different place, like since you have to go through Excel. This commission exists to make sure like that the corporation doesn't exploit us all and like charge us way too much for stuff. And that's what they should do. But the commission has been for a long time really deferential to corporate interests and has oftentimes really just supported what the industry wants to do. And so we are really pushing back on them and really pushing them to be a true advocate for the people and to say no to all of the bad stuff in Excel's plan. So these 5 people are who decide whether their plan gets approved or whether it gets approved with conditions or whether it gets rejected. It won't get rejected, but what we want is for them to say, you can't approve this plan unless you change these things. So what can you do? So April 14th is the deadline by which people can leave an official comment on Excel's plan to the PUC. So you can write a comment basically telling these people like, this is what I think is wrong with Excel's plan. This is what I want to see changed, or this is what I like with Excel's plan. And if it's sent into the PUC by April 14th, then it gets officially entered into the record and will be considered by them when they are making their decision about what needs to change with the plan. So we are trying to get as many comments as possible. So you writing your comment and sending it in would be really great. And it doesn't have to be super long and complicated or technical. It could be as simple as saying like, I want environmental justice and I want to see more community solar in Excel's plan. Be as simple as that. So writing a comment and then spreading the word, going to events like this, where there's going to be more events about this that will definitely invite you to, inviting your friends and family to learn more or to leave a comment. We are like doing some like direct action stuff too. And if you want more information on that, you should get in touch and we can share more about what we're thinking for that. But not doing anything in person right now, obviously, but trying to figure out how we can creatively put pressure on the utility. And so anyways, if you want to be a part of that conversation, you should let us know and help us think about ideas for how to do that.
Hey, Patty, can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
I know that there's a February 11th deadline for initial comments, right?
Yep.
And then clarify this. After that, people can only reply to comments that were already made.
No.
How does that work?
Yeah, I can clarify. So if you are an organization, and you want like, or if you represent an organization and on behalf of an organization, you want to write a comment. Actually, I think that can happen by April 14th too. The February 11th deadline is really only for organizations that are legally intervening in the IRP. And if you were intervening, you would know it. So until April 14th,
because I didn't understand it that way in all these meetings we've had. So that was confusing.
Yeah. So until April 14th to write a comment and send it in. Doesn't have to be in reply to anything. Just, yeah. So I will stop there. Thanks for listening to me. And I'm sorry I didn't look at the I wasn't able to look at the chat. But if there are questions,
Hey, Patty, just a quick, I guess, messaging question. Would it still be helpful to, I guess, like some of our messaging has already been like, hey, send your comments by the 11th. Would it still be helpful to kind of frame it that way to kind of just get people sending it sooner, or should we change it?
well, I guess it's up to you and what you think makes the most sense for your folks. If people can get them in by February 11th, by the first deadline, the earlier the better, because the earlier that they are submitted, the more time that Excel and the PUC and others have time to see those comments. And sometimes that results in changes or modifications being made earlier. So I would say if you if you want to have the most impact, get them in by February 11th, but no matter what, by the 14th.
All right, I'm gonna butt in. This is Christelle. So I wanted to make sure that this question got answered. Rebecca Kramer had asked, Excel is a monopoly by law, correct? Is that a charter with the state of Minnesota with counties?
I don't know. That's a really good question. They are a monopoly utility by law, though they have contracts with cities. So they have what are called franchise agreements with cities that are essentially like long-term contracts that say, you know, we're the city of Minneapolis and we're going to get our energy from you, Excel, for the next however many years. And there is a movement to municipalize our energy system and have cities kind of, when these franchise agreements come up for reconsideration, to say, no, we're not going to get our energy from you anymore. We're going to start our own energy operation or get it elsewhere.
And Patty, isn't that why that happened in Minneapolis and I know there are a couple people on here who know this inside out, like Lee, and so jump in if you have the answer. At one point was it it was earlier than 2015 and
2013.
2013. So they were threatened with municipalization in Minneapolis. And then Excel got scared and said, oh, okay, we'll do a little more around renewables and we'll do a little more around equity. And I think they kind of did a window dressing kind of response to that. And please jump in, whoever does. And I'll say that that's a good tool for pressuring them, you know.
For sure, yeah. There was the big campaign to municipalize, and it scared Excel. It scared Excel enough and CenterPoint Energy that they came to the table and agreed to create a partnership with the city of Minneapolis that's called the Clean Energy Partnership, that's focused on how the utilities are going to work with the city to accomplish their clean energy goals. And it's been like a key way that we've been able to like provide some leverage and kind of force the utilities to do more. And yeah, and so it definitely is a good tool for pressuring them, because it scares them, because Minneapolis is their biggest customer. That's where they make their most money, and threatening their profits it gets their attention.
Yeah.
And now St. Paul has its franchise agreement being renegotiated next year. So that's, and I've shared the history in the chat on the link that says Minneapolis Energy Options.
Also Zena said, do we know which legislatures are Excel shareholders? It's a good question.
That's a great question. I'm not sure, but you could figure that out.
Yeah,
and I know there is an Excel shareholder meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, and it looks yeah, Lee, you posted something about
what the Excel is presenting to their shareholders. So yeah, we could probably figure that one out. That would be good to know.
Alice might know how to get into the meeting or observe. Mhm.
And I just want to give a quick shout out to an event that is happening on Sunday. That is, it's a people's movement assembly based on the environmental justice advocate Ed Owens, where really like what is happening right here and that will spread out to our communities is what will change the energy system. And so this event, unfortunately, it's online this Sunday, hosted by the Just Solar Coalition, MN Renewable Now, Minneapolis Climate Action, Community Power will be there. It's really focused on energy renewables and what's happening at North High School and in North Minneapolis around renewable energy. So please come, please spread the word. I put the Facebook event in the chat. I mean, this is where this will start to change things. And then of course, Jose and Unidos has an event coming up that will be bilingual. And as I truly believe in the power of these smaller conversations to ripple out. Every time we think we're not having the effect that we want, and also I should speak for myself. Every time I think I'm not doing enough, I need to reach more people, I know that it's these smaller conversations that really lead to that bigger change. So I have posted the various events coming up in the chat, and I hope that you just spread the word and really build this network of, I don't know, I liken it to the mushroom network, like, which is way bigger than the internet and it's under our feet. Like we can do that too, right?
Are there any more questions? Does anyone else on the in this meeting have any questions that they would like to ask in regards to the IRP, or how they can get more involved, or how they can share this to their community? We'd like to be able to answer those questions while you're here.
I do have one question. Yeah, and so it.
But wait, Lee,
with the yeah.
Lee, can we see if like non-experts have a question?
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure.
And any kind of question or even comment. It doesn't even have to be a question.
Hi, this is Kimberly Caprini. I'm curious as to what is the involvement that's happening at North High School?
And do you mean around the IRP or around renewable energy?
Renewable energy, the, what did you say, IRP, all of it. Someone mentioned North High School, and my comment earlier was in regards to North High School and several elementary schools being in close proximity to the homeless shelter that is directly affected by the plant. And I just, now that you mentioned North High School and there's some involvement, is it a curriculum based? Is it student organized based? What is it? Because I am connected to our schools on the north, well, in the city, in the district of Minneapolis Public Schools. Oh, just disclosure, I sit on the Minneapolis Public School Board, and I'm interested in knowing more about what is the connection to North, because what affects North High School affects Henry High School and affects all of the schools within my book, our bookend high schools on the north side. So
absolutely,
that's basically what I want to understand, and how can I be supportive in several different fashions. And I'm not gonna pretend like I have an empty plate that I can like focus on one thing, but this is something I'm extremely concerned about. And now that we have a new administration in the White House, and there has been a commitment made to climate change, just recognizing that there's climate change, I see where all of the different levels can support the bigger picture. And I think it's important for, like someone mentioned, the smaller scales of involvement and how you can lead up to, I'm paraphrasing now, lead up to a much bigger movement. So in my capacity as a board director, how can I support this initiative, not only in our schools, not just at the high schools, but at the elementary and middle school level, but also in my connections at the legislative level, without having to not sleep ever.
Right. Well, and Kimberly, thanks for that. And Christelle, jump in after me. But I will just say, so North High School just had, and I can, after I finish talking, because I'll try to multitask and won't do well, I can share some photos of the amazing solar array that just went on the roof of North High School. And it will also be a community, there will be a community solar portion of that array. And it will be focused on, community members with low incomes, and that we will have no barriers to participation in this community solar garden. Also, we'll be collaborating with North High students. And in fact, there will be a North High student. Jamez Staples is actually the developer for the community solar garden at North, and he's a North High School alum. I'm sure, I assume that you know who Jamez Staples is, Kimberly, and he's trying to open the, it's not
Yes.
trying, he is.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
And he's establishing this Northside Green Job Training Center, which is long overdue and needs all the support it can get from city officials, school board, and the legislature. And also, Minneapolis Public Schools has an RFP out right now around solar and community solar on all their roofs. And I think it's really important that the schools understand where they can bring curriculum around environmental justice, climate change into that. And also really having the students lead on and collaborate with us. We will not lead this, like they will lead, this outreach effort to really understand the energy democracy potential here. So I think it's really exciting, but we need support from city officials, school officials, to really understand that it's not just putting panels on, a business and the business gets, an Excel and the business get to, benefit. It's really making community benefit a priority. So I'm really glad you asked that question. It's exciting to know that Minneapolis Public Schools wants to do more around this, and we should be in touch. And Christelle also has tons of things she's doing in North Minneapolis around solar as well.
Yeah,
and I'm very familiar with Christelle's work. She's amazing. She's a rock star on the north side.
Exactly.
Known her for quite some time and really respect and appreciate her work. But offline, I would appreciate an opportunity to talk a little further with all of you, the three of you that are presenting tonight, just about some of my own ideas and concerns. I understand that this is something, as far as the schools are concerned, it's a something that's being led by North, but one of my goals is to, I recognize, and I'm sure others do, how important it is for our bookend high schools to collaborate on really important issues so that we can eliminate some of the I'll just use this word because I can't think of another one, competition in terms of the highs and the lows, even though a good competition in sports is fine, but when it comes to where we live on the north side in terms of what we can do for one another, I believe that blue and red make purple. So when we talk about issues of what affects us as the north side community, we need to make sure that when the youth are involved, that there is a collaborative effort with folks that live all across North Minneapolis, but may attend different schools. So I'm excited about the initiative that's happening at North, and I look forward to learning more about that. But as a in my position as a board director, I will definitely reach out to our senior officer Karen DeVette to learn more about the panels that are being incorporated on top of our roofs on the schools, because I am completely supportive of that. But the last comment is I really appreciate the presentation tonight, because as much as I am supportive of renewable energy and recognizing that the climate is drastically changing, and it's just been a hellish 4 years in terms of having to deal with folks that don't acknowledge that. I'm excited that I remembered and actually left a meeting to join this one, because I learned more tonight in the hour that I've been listening than I have learned in the 2 or 3 years that I've been trying to keep up with this initiative. So awesome presentation, great information, and I would love to see something modeled for middle school and elementary age students so that they can grasp some of the things that they might be engaged in and need to pay attention to. So that's another project way down the road. And I'm sure Christel would be fabulous at championing that.
Yeah,
but I would love to see some kind of presentation in our elementary and middle schools in Minneapolis Public Schools showing this information. So thank you for letting me speak. Thanks.
definitely. And you know, I do a lot of work with MN Renewable Now partners with MNIPL, which is also a wonderful nonprofit that works with youth in North Minneapolis and doing education that's on a youth led, but also level to where they can understand and get introduced at a 101 level. I have actually come in to, I don't know if you're familiar with Dane McLean. He is a teacher at North High School. I spoke in his class a few times before the pandemic to connect them to some of these issues. And of course, you know, I am a coach, a gymnastics coach for the North High School teams. And I'm always engaging my girls about it, but I would really like to be able to even do this presentation with some of the high school students, if the teachers would allow us to even do this presentation within their online school, or if we could do a smaller version, so we're not taking too much away from their class time, but it would give them an opportunity to listen in and be able to have their voice heard as you know, future leaders on the north side who are going to be buying homes and renting on properties in North Minneapolis, and they will have a say. It won't be long where they're going to be making decisions on their utility bills as well. So I'm definitely open to doing that. I have a good working relationship with Mari, and I do have some really great curriculum that is elementary and middle school based, that would give kids an understanding of these issues, especially around the HERC and around our relationship with the river as well, and just bringing that knowledge to them so they can understand how they're impacted by environmental injustices. And then we could, you know, even talk about, you know, this opportunity. If you had an opportunity to get a career or learn, get some education around this, would you be interested in going down this path, career pathway, and being able to connect them at a young age? So I'm definitely open to doing that. And actually, I'm so glad, Kimberly, that you're in this meeting. I'm like literally elated. I'm so happy that you joined, because it literally sparked in me the desire to reach back out to my North Minneapolis high school community. But also, I would be more than happy to be able to share some of the curriculums that I have with the different schools in North Minneapolis about environmental education and climate change issues. And it's really interesting that our youth, before the pandemic happened, I'm going to rewind and go back to before this pandemic divided us and separated us from being able to gather in large gatherings and gather together. It was our youth that was leading the environmental movement and marching to the Capitol in just March, in February of 2020. And bringing attention, the whole world bringing attention to this issue. So I'm sure that it would be welcomed if we went back into the schools and started to reignite that fire again. So I'm down. I'd love to have this conversation.
I'm super happy to hear that. And we've been I've been having conversations with school staff and leaders in different buildings about how to be creative in this pandemic, because distant learning has has not been, it's been successful for some students and not so successful. But what we found is that talking about things that students care about, which is criminal justice, environment, and a host of other things, and speaking to those things through podcasts and having students lead those conversations. So to have an opportunity to have someone like yourself participate in that is exciting. So I really want to connect soon, if not in an hour or two tomorrow.
Yeah,
So that
I'm
we can
down.
talk
I'm
about
ready.
what's next, because right now we are leading into our spring break, and kids are, their middle and high school students are still going to be within distant learning, but there's an opportunity, there are definitely opportunities for us to speak to this issue with Xcel Energy, and opportunities for them to understand, where their energy is coming from. And just the fact that this is like such a moneymaker just blew my mind. And so I learned so much. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna stop. We're gonna connect. You know my number. Please share my email, KimberlyCaprini@gmail.com. Reach out to me. Let's connect very soon. Let's make this happen. Thank you.
Yes.
And
Thank
just so you know, Dane is on our panel, Christelle, on Sunday at the People's Movement Assembly. It'll be you, me, Jamez, and Dane, and North High School student. So like,
Yes.
it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
So it's really
It's a big deal. Kimberly, if you could make it to the People's Movement Assembly on Sunday. I know Sunday is usually a relaxing day for folks that work as hard as you. But if you could guide people to that, it is an unbelievable event. There's a lot of people doing amazing things, and there's a lot of Northsiders that are going to be on this panel, and it's usually a really great turnout. And you will learn, so you think you learn something here, you're going to learn so much at this one. So,
and also led by youth of color. And I jumped in late to help plan this event, and it's just really cool to see what the youth from all these organizations are going. And I shared.
Yeah, I'm actually working on. I'm working on the slides right now as we speak. It's a big one. Is there any other questions for anybody else that's here? Yes.
Well, in a few minutes, I wanted to say, Patty, you have a really good presentation. You're obviously very well versed in what's going on with energy transmission down there. So kudos to you on that. Like I said in the beginning, I think policy is going to affect how all of this happens. And you were talking about the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission, and they're definitely the ones that essentially pull the strings on how Xcel Energy operates. So they're, the more people lean on those folks, of course, I think they get their directions from the legislature. So government is what's going to ultimately decide how things change, and they won't do anything without pressure from you guys. I think with the new federal administration that just came in, you're going to have a very friendly federal government. I don't think they're going to be as much of a problem as state government. But I do think the next 4 years is going to be monumental in your abilities to change policy. We don't know what's going to happen 4 years from now, if someone's going to change it all back, but I'm very hopeful that with our new federal government, I think we're on the cusp of some really great things. And I've been feeling that for a long time, but now I think some really great things are going to happen, and you guys are going to make it possible by being active and letting people know what's up and being vocal about it. And so I'm happy for you guys. I'm gonna drop off, but I'm gonna still be around, and I'll be kind of paying attention to what you're doing, and maybe I'll join you again sometime. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Don, I see your question here. If I could clarify on the definition of clean energy. When I say clean energy, it's kind of like an umbrella term that includes wind, solar, energy efficiency, and also like technology like storage that helps make clean energy everywhere more possible. And then sometimes I'll include also like, geothermal and like small scale hydroelectric in there. Some large scale hydroelectric has been known for ecological and environmental justice issues. So those are the things that I'm thinking of.
Okay, because if you could just make sure to clarify that, because the lot for, and maybe this is outdated now, but for a long time, clean energy, and the governor I heard using this, and I'm not sure, they were using natural gas as like this bridge from coal, for example, to renewables. But I think with the climate, you know, right now we can't do that. We have to really focus more on the renewables, like I put in the chat later, and not natural gas as much, and new natural gas as clean energy. I understand that stance, but anyway, so if you could just be clear on that in a presentation, that was the only thing I think would be helpful. And it was a really, yeah, it was really nice, simple, like straightforward, great presentations. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I can definitely be clear about that. There's some studies that have been done that show that gas, when you factor in all of the emissions from its extraction to the end use of it, it's almost just as bad as coal. So it's been falsely portrayed as a bridge fuel for a long time, and that's part of what we're trying to do, is break through that and make sure that people are starting to associate it with dirty energy, because that's what it is.
One point about gas that I could bring up is your slide showed that about 24% of Excel's generation, it comes from gas-fired power plants. So like when we have those, a really super cold Arctic blast polar vortex, couldn't Excel just simply fire those plants up for just a few hours at a time when we absolutely need it, instead of building a whole new gas plant? That's like the crux of it.
Yeah, so you'd be using them like a peaking plant is what they call those. Yeah.
Instead of as base load, yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions at all before we end this amazing meeting, or should I say presentation?
I don't have a question. I want to echo some of the other compliments. I told you I was just stopping by on my way, and I changed my plan. I must have shown interest in this event because it showed up in my events, and I stayed. And yeah, I will openly admit I haven't been a leader in this form. I'm kind of been overwhelmed with what to do, but I'm hearing about Europe is going to, I don't know if the US is on par, probably not, but there'll be no gas cars soon. And I've often thought, like, the answers have to be massive for this, for any fix and progress. I don't, it would sound funny from somebody who hasn't done much, but I don't think there's time for incrementalism either. So I am wondering who is thinking really big. So, and I did appreciate the whole one-on-one approach that might have been a little behind everybody's knowledge on this group, but not mine and not a few other people. So thanks everybody here. Lee, nice to see you. I hope as well. And Christelle, I was happy to hear, I don't know you well, but I was happy to hear about your announcement, and I wish you luck going forward.
Oh,
Patty,
thank you.
Patty, thank you. And Kyle and everybody. Hello, Jose, not to be left out.
Yeah. Thanks for all that, Jim. And I think this is where that magic of creating the future happens. I really do. It doesn't happen somewhere else. It doesn't happen with other people. It like starts with us right here. Like, we've got it. We have what it takes.
Exactly.
I truly believe that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm sorry but it may require just being very clear of what the opposition is. I mean, I'm 58, and kids were talking about no nukes and solar power in the 70s. I mean, the green eco flag is nothing new from, God, I don't know, 60, 70 years ago. So the lack of progress is just saddening but
It is sad.
on we go.
It is sad. And you know, I'll add one thing before we close, but I actually had the privilege of doing a solar assessment yesterday on a 25 unit building in North Minneapolis. And as I walked through the building, I ran into 3 different renters that were renting in 3 different units that were once students of mine when I worked at South High School, who are now parents and renting and paying utility bills. And it just goes to show how quick these young people grow up, and how much impact that we have. It's mind-boggling in a way. When I years ago was teaching youth to pick up trash and not to litter and to where our water comes from, and then turning around a couple years later and seeing them be the leaders of their green teams at their high schools, and then turning around and seeing them raise children and teaching the same things that I taught them. And it happens very fast. And so, you know, making sure, and I'm happy that Kimberly Caprini jumped on, because before we know it, you know, the young ladies that I'm coaching gymnastics right now at the high schools in North Minneapolis, before I know it, they're going to be my peers. You know, we're going to be sharing workspaces, and who knows, I might be voting for one of them soon. So it's really important to make sure that we let them lead this movement, but also give them the tools so they can do that. So, but yeah, I am so happy that we were able to host this event. And folks that are still on, please make sure that you share the next one that we are hosting on the 1st at 6:30 p.m. It's going to be a repeat of this, but also growing, and we're excited to be able to give this opportunity of knowledge to people and opportunity for them to advocate for themselves in their community.
And Kimberly, if you are interested in spreading the event that Jose is doing, that will be bilingual in Spanish, I mean, it would be fantastic to reach families that need to hear this information.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will share that on my personal page, as well as one of my public formats.
And I'm going to share I'll share the link to Jose's event right now in the chat.
Perfect. Perfect.
I'm going to
Well,
share that as well.
Thank you again. And just as a side note, now that I know you have this in Spanish, if it's possible to translate it in Hmong and Somali, I can connect you with, I'm sure you probably have contacts, but just as an offering, I could connect you with a Hmong and Somali interpreter that could support creating this presentation in those languages as well, if you're interested. And if you, like I said, you probably have your own connections, but just as an offering, just know that I would be a resource for that, because I do support this work so much.
Oh,
but thank you.
And people,
that's awesome.
We did do advocacy around making sure, you know, we checked in with the POC. People can submit written and video comments in any language, and they will be translated. So just make sure that that message gets out as well.
Okay, I'll make sure that, then send me the language, and I'll make sure that I post that with the posting of the event that you're sending me. That would be great. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate all your hard work, and thank you for teaching me so much tonight. I really appreciate that. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. All right. Yeah. Does anyone else want to say some closing comments before we close out? All right. Woo, woo. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Again, we will be doing this again in just another 4 days from now. Please share with your friends and family and neighbors, and network on social media. Yeah. So peace out and have a beautiful night.
Woo. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
You did it.
Yeah.
Mhm.